That I understand the sport pretty well. I've been doing it a really long time, and I've learned a lot from a lot of people that were smarter than me. And I still feel like to this day I'm still learning, and I've been doing it 30 years, and I feel like I still can learn, still get better. So for me, it's about, that my heart's bigger than my brain. I always say that to my divers, that I care more about you as a person than an athlete. But I will work my butt off every day with you to make you the very, very best you can be. And I want you to leave way better than you ever thought you could be. But I also want you to go, that was so much fun. That's what I want.
Part of this episode too. I'm very grateful for you to be here. I know you're busy. I know you're practicing right now. Fortunately that you have that incident with your pool, but hopefully everything comes out very well soon.
And we're making the best of it. And again, if we can help other people, I mean, I have a club as well. I coach college and my age group program, and I spend a year when they're sophomores with them and their parents, then juniors with them and their parents, and seniors, and I help them through that whole recruiting process so they understand it from both sides, like when you're being recruited, and also what the coaches think and how they do it. So I've been doing that for years, and every year with every new class, and I've had my club for 23 years. So it's helping them get to college. And
excellent.
Some come back for me, but I also help them go wherever. So
yeah. I know that we're gonna go over with all that because you entering right now, your 22nd season at Eastern Michigan University, have a head coach on diving. Now you work with women and the men's as well, both parties, right?
Well, I did for the first 20 years, and then they just dropped our men's program with a few other programs at the college. But
yes,
so I for 20 years I had men, and for the last 3 years that we dropped our men's program and it was the best program at our college. Swimming and diving was like we won every year, and it's just financial, it is what it is. And we're not the only, and there's Power 5 universities that have had to do it too. So we're not the only ones. It's just,
unfortunately,
it was our crown jewel.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of few universities dropping some sports financially, especially, for everything that happened, which I'm not, COVID is out of the blue right now. I'm not going to talk over that, but yeah, it's unfortunate, the financial, but you have a very good success, coach. Buck. You being named MAC coach of the year for 20 times between both, right? Or 21 times. How that
22
goes?
Now.
Oh, 22 now. 22.
Yeah.
So a woman's you being what, like 14 times?
Yeah, I don't even know. I've lost count.
But one of the things that caught my mind a lot is when I was reading about you is you qualify divers all the time to the NCAA Championships. You have records. Actually, you have on MAC. You have two or five, record holder, and the EMU record holder as well. You have two of them of you athletes holding that record still. And it's important for you to have those records, and we're gonna go over some questions about that. But take me over a little bit, coach, how everything started, because you mentioned to me when we start talking about you are passionate about baseball. You play baseball.
I do have.
You play baseball all your life pretty much, and then now you are diving coach. So how was that transition from baseball? Did you went to the university and play baseball? How that work?
So I played baseball since I was 5 years old. I played 14 years of baseball, and so I did all the summer stuff, and tried to do the College World Series stuff. We did all that, and then did travel teams, and I played high school baseball, high school golf, and a high school diver. And then I got into diving club where I was getting coached by a college coach, and then I went to a college. It was a Division II college at the time, but I was on the diving team and playing on the baseball team. And unfortunately, I grew up in a poor family that we couldn't really afford to keep me in college. So I had to pay for college myself on a credit card later. And so I kind of got out of diving was a newer sport for me, and I started coaching it at my high school that I graduated from, and just helping them out because I loved it and it was fun to work with athletes, and I did 7 years of coaching high school, and then got into college and coached a year at my old college that I was at for a semester really, and then I've been at Eastern ever since. And so for me it was I played volleyball for 12 years from 20 to 32, and played golf my whole life since I was 13. So baseball, fisherman. Any sport just about I've done, and I've done competitively. So diving just I just loved coaching it, and I didn't ever do it for a living at first. I did it because I loved it, and I did other jobs just to be able to coach it. For me, it was just help athletes and watch them grow, and I had a knack for it. I was pretty good at it, and I was like, okay, this is something I could see myself maybe doing. And my diver that was diving for me in high school went off to college, and she told me that, Buck, you're better than my college coach. I was like, what? And I didn't believe her. So I went out and watched them practice and watched their meet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am better. And then, so I taken over that job the next year, and I worked there for a year, and then I've been at Eastern ever since, and have been offered, 5, 6 Power 5 conference jobs. And I'm happy where I'm at. I have a lake house up north. I got my life that I want. I have 2 daughters that play national level volleyball, and I love my life. So it's like I'm happy with the Eastern's taking really good care of me, and so I'm like I'm good.
So you stay, from Michigan, you stay there, and you say, okay, this is it. This is home. You feel like home. I'm complete right here, and it's been 22 years already. Entering this new season with athletes. Out of those 22 years, tell me the high and tell me the low on the school.
Well, definitely the low is an easy one. That's when they dropped our men's program. That was hard for me to wrap my brain around, because I love coaching both men and women, and it was nice having them together. And so that was difficult. But then once it happened, and when I was just coaching women, I'm like, oh, this is really actually great. I mean, I miss my guys for sure, but the women I coach, the kids I bring in they're smart kids that work hard, and I don't care how far you are in diving. You don't have to be a national. We have in our club, we produce over 20 junior national champions. So that's I can make good divers, and they all get so good they can go to big colleges, which I'm happy for, because I get to help them do that. But at the same time, my high would be just honestly being in a place that I want to be at. Not that I'm there because I'm not good enough, or I've been offered some big jobs and turned them down, and it's because the Eastern's taking really good care of me, and they treat me. I'm a head coach. They treat me well, and it's like, and I tell my athletes, find the place that has a good coach, has a facility, and I try to help them. And I was on a phone call for an hour yesterday with one of my club divers that she took 4th at junior nationals on platform, and she's in grade 11, and my happiness is, and I tell my the people that I work with, like, I'm very selfish, and they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, because I do things for other people because it makes me feel good. And they're like, that's not selfish. I'm like, no, it is, because it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I do it because it makes me feel good to help other people. It makes me feel good. So I even divers that I'm recruiting that I say, hey, if you find out that my school's not the place for you, you can still reach out to me. I'll still help you. And they're like, you would do that? And I'm like, yeah. I go and I tell them, my heart's bigger than my brain. That's all. That's the problem I have.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know, Coach, because sometimes you don't find that kind of mentality or that kind of force. Recruiting is tricky. Recruiting, is confusing. It's tricky. It's time consuming. You have plenty of different information. You have everybody have a different point of view on how the recruiting process works, and this is the main reason. Actually, I'm glad that you're here, because this is the main reason why we're doing this, is because I need to nurture myself and parents and student athletes as well of how the recruiting process go. This is the main reason why we're doing the podcast. But you know what, it's been great, and having people like you, with the knowledge and the understanding of the recruiting is important. So when you start recruiting athletes, what would be the first thing you see on an athlete? Because I know there's different, evaluations criteria that you guys follow through, right?
Yeah.
So, but what would be the first thing you see in an athlete?
So usually for me, the first thing I look for, is, I look for, 2 things. One is, I look for, is I have my own list, and I tell my club divers, this is what you need to present to them. And our thing is usually just started with a video, because in our sport, you either are going to these national meets where they're maybe at, or and depending on if it's a mid-major or Power 5 school, or these big diving universities, that their kids are reaching out to them. But the ones that are maybe slipping under the very, very best in the world, the country, let's say, or even in the world, because we're recruiting across I have kids from Canada, I've had kids from Romania, and so I've had from all over. But the thing is you look at the video first. That's kind of that's the number one thing. You got to make a video. You got to put your best of the best, whether it be in the dry land doing somersaults on the ground, or on a dry board, or on a trampoline, or off the side of the pool. Send a coach start to finish, just showing them where you're at. So that's one of the very first things is probably any coach would look at. And then the second thing is grades. What are your grades like?
What are the grades?
What kind of seminar? That's like, for me, that's number one, because I feel like if they're an athlete and they want to work hard, I can make them a good diver, depending on if they're putting in the time in the classroom and doing that. That's the rest of their life. Their athletics is a short piece of it. And so I'm trying to find kids that are focused not just on, I want to be a diver for 4 years or 5 years or whatever, but this is about the rest of your life, and my discussion with recruits is, listen, I'm going to be a coach for you the rest of your life, not just for the 4 years you're diving for me. If you need me when you're 30, and hopefully I'm still around, if you need me when you're 30, and you just text me or call me, and I'll be there and I'll help you.
Beautiful.
So that's how I recruit, and I think a lot of coaches probably do that. They want to have these kids in their lives for forever. They don't want to just coach them for 4 years and see you later. Yeah, I'm speculating on other people, but I'm assuming that most people are like, no, these are people that are in my life and I work with them every day. I don't want it to end in 4 years. So me with my alumni and hanging out with them and having them at my lake house, having a good weekend with my alumni, and just inviting them, not asking them for anything. And because you do that, they know you care about them. They want to help your program. They want to donate. I don't have to ask them. They just want to do it because they care. So honestly, for recruits, the main thing is the video, the academic piece, and also being open and honest and talking to the team and coming and meeting the divers. And when I talk to them on the phone, having that conversation where I feel like it clicks, and it's true when you have someone that's maybe shy, or they think I'm this old guy that you can't talk to. And I'm like, I'll joke with them. Yeah, I joke with them the first time I talk to them, because I want them to feel like, I want you to know who I am. I'm not going to put on a show for you. We're not going to do all that. We're going to show you what we are like. And so if you come here, it's going to be exactly the same on your visit, or if you come here as to go to school. We're not going to put on a big song and dance for you. We're just going to be who we are. And if that fits you, perfect. And if it doesn't, let me help you find that. Excellent. So that's the main thing.
Excellent. Beautiful, coach. Now you mentioned something extremely important, the academics. This is something that I really try to communicate as much as I can to the athletes that I work with. Is academics is the first key of recruiting, right? It's the most important part of recruiting. You can be extremely talented. Extremely talented, but you need to have your grades up. I have athletes that are extremely good. Unfortunately, GPS drops, but if you work hard with your academics, it's crucial. So now I see the university. Eastern Michigan, it's a public school. It's 16,000 on population right there. How many?
It ranges from 15,000 to 25,000, somewhere in there, depending on with COVID and all this other stuff that's going on. But we've been typically in the 24,000 for many years, and then it's dipped a little bit because of what's going on.
Because what's going on. Okay. And now, and when it comes to academics, you need to be in the 3.3s, 3.4s in order for us to approach, Michigan, Eastern Michigan University.
Well, to be honest with you, we're a university that's a very diverse university. It's very diverse. The diversity at Eastern Michigan is from nationalities all the way. It's one of those. They open their doors so you can get into Eastern. You don't need a high GPA, but to be on my diving team, to be an athlete, to be able to, because you're putting in 20 hours extra a week and that, and then plus your community service that you're doing and going to meets and doing all this, that you got to be pretty good students. So I typically recruit pretty high GPA kids that
Very high GPA.
that you know, whether they're in the science field or engineering or whatever, that they're focused on that first. And I feel like that's a priority. I don't want any athlete to come and say, and baseball is a little different sport too, where there's opportunity to go play minor league, and diving, there's not an opportunity for that.
That's
not the same.
Yeah, definitely. Now, how many spots in the roster do you have?
So I can have as many as I want, really. I mean, I've had, when I had men and women, I'd have 17 divers on my team. Right now I have 9 divers on my team, and that's a pretty big women's team, but I don't look at it that way. I just look about finding the right people. And if I don't find them that year, I go to the next year. But I don't have a set number. I have a great facility, and I have dry land and all the equipment that you need, and 4 trampolines, 3 dry boards, and I have all the stuff you need. So we have a great facility. So I don't think of numbers as a thing. So it's more about getting those good students that want to come in and work hard, and then they go to grad school, or they go on to do their internship, or they go and they're living their life, and hopefully they can do it without a lot of debt, you know, because they're either improving enough each year to get more money, because that's how I do it, is I try to reward my kids that are here. And some colleges can't do that. They if you come in on 20%, you're going to leave on 20%. If you come in on 5%, you're going to leave on 5%. Well, I don't do it that way. I reward the kids that are on my team. If you got better and scored more points at the conference meet, and that moves you up into a higher percentage, then I give it to you. And then whatever's left, I recruit with. That's how I do it. Some colleges can't do that because they need to constantly keep building, and because they're trying to win NCAAs, and that's not something that we're trying to do. Obviously, we'd love to, but we're trying to be competitive at our conference meet. And a lot of these mid-major schools, it's more about being competitive at the conference meet, where if you're at a Power 5 school that has a really strong swimming and diving program, they're about scoring at NCAA. So that money, that 20% you get, is probably what you're going to get, because they need to get another diver behind you that's going to score points as well. And
they're going to stop it.
Yeah, and it's just that way swimming and diving is, because, you know, we have 14 scholarship, 14.4, and that's what it is. And for football, what are they at 85, or it's different, you know, where we can give partials and diving. You can give them books, you can have them walk on, you can increase them. I mean, we can do whatever we want.
Excellent.
And the swimming team is all one team. Swimming and diving is all one. So the swimming coach is usually in control of that, and where I have set scholarships, and some other diving coaches have set scholarships, and each university handles it differently, where the swim coach oversees all of it. My case, my head coach, when I answer to my athletic director, and the swim coach answers to the athletic director, and we work together. In most programs, the swim coach oversees the diving. So they determine how much scholarship you're going to get based on what they're recruiting with swimming. And some programs have set, and it's just every university is different. I have a lot of friends in the business, so.
Yeah, you mentioned something extremely important: community hours. Sometimes we don't take in consideration that. Because your athletes would do community hours, you will reward them for that.
Yeah, they get, well, that's part of whether they're in the honors college and they are an honors program, and they get some money, financial, academic financial money from the honors program. And then part of that is doing community service, but also as an athlete, that's what we feel is important too. You know, like our breast cancer awareness shirts, that I'm wearing right now. It's that breast cancer awareness month. And so those are things that we try to do, and we do them as teams, and we try to help the community as much as we can. We host meets, and the kids do their community hours where they can. And it's just, trying to be a well-rounded person, not just being an athlete or being a student.
Excellent. Actually, right now I'm doing a fundraising for breast cancer for a friend of the family, actually, that needs some help on that. So I'm doing it through social media. Hopefully we reach the goal. But it is important. You see, it is important to give something to the athletes too, because that's preparing them for the future. I like that. Please
send me that link to the breast cancer thing so we can contribute. I'd love to. Just if you don't mind, I'd be happy to.
I appreciate that. I will send you the link. I highly appreciate, I'll share that with you, Coach. But anyway,
I'm doing it for selfish reasons. You know that, right? Because it makes me feel good.
Thank you, Coach.
And I'd love to know that I can help another human being. And it makes no difference where they're from. If they're from my town, or they're from Venezuela, or from Africa, it makes no difference to me. We can help someone, and it makes you feel good, and you did something for someone else. That hopefully that's what I want everyone to be like that. But I do. I just want everyone to be that way. Help if you can.
If I'm a freshman, okay, would I be able to be starting in your team to start diving already, or you discriminate a little bit based on, age right there.
No, it's based on where you're at in your diving. Honestly, it has nothing to do with freshman, senior. We have recruited freshmen from Canada, from Romania that were amazing, right, when they walk in the door. And I've had other ones that were level 10 gymnasts that had just started diving, but I knew in a couple of years I'm going to make them real good. So because they have that work ethic, and so we find those kids that and depending on what colleges you're at, but for me, I've recruited divers that they've been diving most of their life, and other ones that it just started, but they had a background in another sport that really is going to feed into diving. And so it's not about year, it's not about grade, it's about where you are in the diving. And so we've had our freshmen that were real good and other ones that came in and they were raw and they became real good later. And it's all about just that work ethic and finding those kids to walk in the door that have that work ethic, and they also want to have fun doing it, that's something I demand. Is we're not just going to come in and I'm not going to give you a workout and just coach you and that's not how it's going to be. I want to work hard. We're not going to be out work, but we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to laugh and joke with each other, and we're going to just have a good time, but we're going to work really hard. Awesome. I don't want you to be sore and tired. I do. But I also want you to have fun. And so year doesn't matter.
So the environment, the environment between you guys is great environment, and on the training and competition, everything.
Most important is to make a good environment, create a good environment for the kids. And that's why I tell my divers that are going off to colleges or looking at schools right now and taking their visits for my club kids is find a coach that you bond with, a team that you bond with. And there's other factors, obviously the financial, how far from home, there's a lot of other factors, but if you find a team that you just want to be with every day and you want to work with versus, I got to go to practice today, you don't want that. And if someone was like that and they said, well, Eastern's a great place and they offer me money, and it's like, but if you don't feel that, you shouldn't come to me. You shouldn't come dive for you. You should let me find the right place for you, because that's really what's important. Because that 4 years, even though we a little bit older adults, it goes fast, but for them it feels like forever when they're doing it until they're seniors going, wow, it's over. And that's how it is.
Yes, that's important, because I had an athlete that track and field awesome, and I mean she had plenty of D1 schools approaching her, and she did the visits, the official visits and unofficial visits. She did about a good 15. She had opportunity to go for a good 15 school. And she ended up going to D2 because of what you just mentioned right now. She had a great communication with the coach. The coach told him, hey, this is the school, this is it. This is what I can offer you. This is me, like you're talking right now. And she didn't accept D1 school's offership, a scholarship, because she feels extremely confident in Division 2. But what you mentioned right now is crucial, the communication with the coaches. I think that's crucial for any sport. Any sport. If you feel good, like you say, because you're gonna get tired of training, but you're gonna be happy tired, not unhappy tired, right?
Absolutely, that's 100% true, and that's what I try to tell my kids that are going off to colleges, is to ask those questions and try to get that feel. It's not, and have your checklist of things that are important to your family, whether it be distance and financial and all that stuff, and ask the questions like, if you're giving me this much to come in, can I increase that? What does it take to do that? And some coaches will give them that information. Like, I would be honest about, okay, if you're on this much and let's say you take top 8 in our conference meet, then I'm gonna up you to this much. And because otherwise, if they're coming in I already think they can do that, then I would give them that to get them there. And if I know I have to develop them in the 2 years, they might be. I've had divers come in on walk-on or books that have left 3rd in the nation at NCAA's, and they were on a lot of money when they left because they earned it. And that's what I try to take care of them. And other divers that have come in as 50 percenters that they stayed in that because maybe it was a little more than they should have gotten to come in, but they were great and they were a good fit, and it was like, I can do that this year. And they stayed at 50% just because they just kept they didn't get worse. They got better, but it was like, yeah, but you that's what I gave you more, and that's what and they understand it, because they know when they come in why I gave them that much and what it takes to get to the next level. And it happens a lot of times. And and again, my philosophy is take care of who's already on your team first, because they've made a commitment to you. So take care of them. These are my immediate family, and then you're trying to recruit these new kids that are going to join your family, and then you take care of them. and that's how it's just it's a mental thing. And but it's like, you come in and work hard for me and you can score points and help your team out, then I'm going to reward you for that.
Mm,
That's just how I'm going to do it, and you've earned it. It's not like I'm giving you
excellent.
something you didn't earn.
Excellent.
It's just
You
how
know,
it is. Just can't.
I will be happy to send a kid, you know, with a coach like you. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, unfortunately, in this business, you know, sometimes you find coaches there, they have you know, chip on the shoulder, and they, you know, I don't want to talk much, but I heard actually from athletes um that I recruit in the past. They have traumatized because the connection with the
Yes.
coach was not good. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm not talking about on a
Doing a
specific
job.
yeah, it's tough. So having a coach, you know, a mentor, because you know, you guys do a lot of stuff. You guys, you know, I mentioned this in the past and in a couple of episodes. It's not about just being a coach. You everything right there. You're gonna be, you know,
Yeah.
living with these kids for 4 years. You're a mentor, you're a coach, you're a teacher, and in occasion you're a parent. You know, because I mean, if there are,
Yes.
especially kids are coming out of the country, right? You know,
Yes.
they need
For
to be,
sure.
they need to feel welcome. They need to feel you know, that hey, we want you here because you're part of the family, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the parents from the Canadian diver I have, and her parents, you know, I love talking to them and I love sharing with them, and they love sending me messages saying she's so happy, and I love hearing that. But I'll give you a quick story. I'll shorten it, but I was involved in a traumatic brain injury in April, right at the day after when our season ended, the very next day, and I was in the hospital for 32 days, and it was like this close to death. And I'm telling you
Right.
that because when I got home from the hospital and everything kind of was starting to get a little bit back to normal, I was looking at my phone and reading all the messages from either text messages or Facebook messages, and from my former divers, alumni that I've had 20 some years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I was reading them and I was like, wait a minute. And I was kind of joking with myself. I'm like, none of them said I made him a better diver. They all said the same thing. You changed my life. You made me a better person. And I was like bawling,
Wow.
just in
Wow.
tears, because me, that's why I do what I do. I don't do it. I'm not doing it because I need to be the best. That's not what I'm doing. I'm doing it to help kids grow up and be successful adults and happy adults. And that meant more to me than any diver's place that they took or awards that they won. That doesn't mean a lot to me. I mean, I know obviously you got to be a good coach, and to do that you have to do that because that's what your university hired you for, is to be a good coach. But I think they also hire you to be, if you're someone that's an influence on their lives and make them grow up to be very successful adults that can help other people. And to me, that's what it's about. That's why I do what I do. And that's kind of what you're doing. And you're helping those kids, you're helping them get to those places. And that's to me, when I got your email, I was like, I got to do this. If I can legally do it through the NCAA, I'm going to do it, because he's trying to help other people. That's what he's doing. And that's
Excellent.
what, if I can add to that, I'm all in.
Well,
You got me.
I highly appreciate your honesty, coach. That's our mission, you know, is to help athletes as much as we can, you know. You learn, and you know, yeah, you can be the passion about sports, but when I started learning about these and how important is the education, you know, college education for kids is so crucial, you know, for their, you know, future. Because athletes, yes, you know, we know the percentage of professional athletes are very low now, but your degree, you're gonna take it with you all day
Yes.
long, you know, no matter where you go. That's under your, you know, it's yours, you know. So that's one of the things that I focus the most when I talk to parents. I do some conference and I got people, I'm like, you know what, my number one point here is not about how good you are athletically. That's not my case right here. My case is how you are academically, and then we go from there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you are 2.2, 2.5, 2.8, sorry, but you need to bump it up. You need to work hard in order for us to make it happen, you know. And I've seen some success, some kids that I work with, you know, they have jump, you know, from 2.6, 2.7 to 3, 4, 3, 5, man. So that's something that is important, you know. It's important for their, you know, maybe they will not realize it immediately, but later on in the future, they will say, man, these two got me, with this, so that's the goal right there. I appreciate, coach. I appreciate you mentioned
I was
that.
that kid. I was that kid that struggled through high school. I struggled in the academic part of college, and I had to drop out and basically go back to community college and learn how to be a student because I didn't learn what I needed to learn in high school because I was girls and sports. That was it for me. And I was like, oh, that's not the way to approach this. Now I try to help these kids now seem to be so much more into their academics than, back when I was young. It was, sports and girls. That's what you did. That's what you did. You didn't worry about the other thing. But now these kids are way more into their academics than they're anytime I get an email from a kid, I look at their grades and it's baffling. They're 4.2 students or over 4 students because they're taking weighted classes and AP classes, and it's like, oh my goodness, these kids really put time and effort in, and they do. And I share that with my own daughters.
So your academics rate is high, when it comes to graduation.
Mine's very high, and again, our team GPA is 3.8, so we have kids that really put the effort in and they put the work in, and they're in the science field, biology. They're pre-med. They're taking, it's not easy classes, but they put the effort in. And again, if a kid told me they needed to meet with the professor, because that was the only time they meet with them was during practice, I'd be like, what are you doing here? Get out of here. That's more important. The diving thing is going to happen. We're fine with that. Go take care of that, because that's the rest of your life. This is just this little tiny piece, and my job's safe. I don't have to worry about if you miss practice, I'm going to lose my job. It's not that. In a good university, they recognize that, and they're not just about, we got to win at all costs. No, we don't do that. Not at the cost of that kid's future. That's not what it's about. And that's why and there's other universities for sure that are like that. Now, hopefully they're all like that, but I'm at one that I'm like, I'm not leaving, because that's how they've been, and they've treated me well and helped me finish my degree while I was coaching there. My first started, they helped me finish it. They paid for it and helped me finish. I did all that, and I want to help all those kids. Even if you struggle a little bit, it's not that I wouldn't bring you on. It's just we're going to be focused more on that piece, because the diving piece has got to be second. It doesn't have to be first. It should never be first. It just shouldn't
never be first. Awesome. No, most of the coaches that I talk to on the podcast, they have pretty much the same vision. It's just to make the athlete better, when it comes to academics, they always, they really focus on, a graduation rate. They have to be there, Yeah, of course, I had the opportunity to talk to some, like Stanford coaches and things like that. Academics, graduation rate is 100% because it's Stanford, I mean, you have to be good no matter what academically right there, right? But yeah, that's a good mission. That's a good mission because, Eastern Michigan University, we know that you have a good future being on that university. And let me ask you something important. How you overcome when an athlete is not performing, the way that you expecting, or the way that he showed you in the past, or she showed you in the past, right? How you overcome that with athletes that are struggling like that?
Usually I'm sitting down and talking to them as soon as I see body language or anything that doesn't look right with them, and now I'm asking them. We're having those conversations, like, what's going on? And sometimes it might be a boyfriend, or it might be a class they're struggling with, or something happening at home. And I want them to take care of that first. And I'm not trying to say that athletics isn't important, but sometimes there's things that are more important for sure. And if I see, facial expressions or body language is not right, we're having a talk about that. I'm finding out what the problem is. Not the result of the problem. Maybe it shows up in their diving, and I can give them the X's and O's and the physics and the biomechanics, and I can do all that, but that's not fixing the problem. So I want to address the problem. What's going on? Do you need to see our sports psychologist? You need to work with someone. Do you see our nutritionist? We have these people, resources available to you for whatever you're struggling with. And if it's just that you need a coach to talk to and sit down with and just vent it. And if you need to go home for the weekend because your family needs you, go. That's what I need you to do. Because I know when you come back and you feel like you're in a better place, your diving is going to be better anyway. So it's almost like, there's probably some coaches out there like, no, we have to dive. And I'm just not that way. I'm reading facial expressions and body language every day because I want to make sure they're okay. I want to make sure they're in a good place because I want them to enjoy the experience. They're not there for me. They're not there for me. They're there for their experience, and I get to be a part of that. And that's how I look at it. I don't go, well, you're my diver. That's not me. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Beautiful. You get me here to help you. I'm a resource for you. you're not a resource for me, because I'm at a place where I don't have to worry about my job security, and I don't have to worry about that. Eastern loves me and I love them. And so I can focus my attention on helping these athletes grow as people, helping them be better people. And then that's who we're proud of when they go on and graduate. They get their degree and they're got their honor student and their athlete. And I love that when they get to do that. So that's what's important to me. And making good divers, honestly, that's not hard. To me, that's not the hard part. That's not the hard part. That's not, beautiful. It's not. I don't mean to brag about it, but that's pretty easy for me to make good divers, but making them better people and making them more functional and productive adults, that takes a lot more work. And that's where I want to put my time. And we do it while we're practicing. And sometimes I have to pull a kid aside and have a talk with them to make sure they're okay and get them back on the right track. And that's okay. I don't feel like, oh, they didn't get that many dives. And who cares? Yes. I made their life better. And but by doing that, they're going to put in more effort, and they do every day. They put the effort in every day because they know I'm there for them and I care about them. And I care more about them as people than I do as divers, and they know that. I recruit that way. I talk to my own team that way. I talk to my alumni that way. You are more important to me than anything you ever did in this sport, because this sport is just this little tiny piece of your life. It's not the big part. It isn't.
Beautiful,
so
beautiful.
That's my approach.
Beautiful philosophy. I love it, man. And let me ask you something. Do you ever have an athlete say, "Hey, coach, I want to make it to the Olympics. I wanna see if I can be able," because I had the opportunity. I don't know if you saw it on my social media, to talk to Alison Gibson. She was in the Olympics right now in Tokyo. Fortunately, it didn't come out the way that she was expecting. But I mean, the conversation that I had with her, she mentioned a lot about coaching, how important it was for her, her parents, family, the school, the university, everything, which is part of what she is right now. Now she's 20 something years old and she's an Olympian. How you work with kids like that?
Well, I've had divers that were this close to making, I had a diver that was this close to making the Olympic team, but I coached her from she was 28 to 32 years old. So she's had several coaches before me, and I got to work with that piece. And I mean, it was just one of those things where she had one event that her prelims wasn't as good as it wants, and her semifinal were phenomenal, and we just fell a little short. And this is what happens. But I have club divers that are multi-time national champion, and she wants to be an Olympian. So my thing is, we got to get you with the right program. We got to get you with the right coach that's their mentality too for you. And not these other places aren't great. And whether this scholarship is this big or whatever, it's getting you hitting all the check marks that we want to hit when we're being recruited. We want to make sure we hit all those, but also I need to be with one of these coaches that has done it and that their brain is wired that way too. And for her, we're trying to get her with a coach that can do that for her. And that's really what I'm trying to help my club kids get to those people. And a kid that's like, well, I'm going to go into the medical field and I want to be this. Well, Olympics isn't your goal, and that's fine. But the ones that do, go for it and give it a run. Allison's going to always have that Olympic ring. She's always going to have it. No one can ever take that away from her. She'll always have that. So she's reached a goal that very few people have ever reached. So she has a medal around her neck, her gold medal.
That's exactly what I say to them. You're an Olympian, just to have that name, Olympian. I mean, come on.
That means a lot.
Yeah.
So and some people that want to reach that goal, we want to do everything we can to help them get to that. And if it's not with me, if it's with someone else, then I'm going to push you to get to that.
Beautiful.
I'm going to help you get to that. And that's what I try to tell every recruit is like, if it's not me, if you don't feel the right fit here, I'll help you find the other place, because that's just what I want to do. And same with an Olympia diver that wants to make a run for the Olympics, then do it. Don't stop yourself there. Your life after that will still go on, and you'll still have to do all that other stuff that the rest of us did, but go for it now. Do it. Give it a shot. You don't know. You got to go give it a chance. Make a run for it and see what happens. You might fall short, but that doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't.
It doesn't mean
you got that look. Yeah. And you're going to use those skills the rest of your life, and you will.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because these athletes are so focused, in their goal. No matter if they get, I have 5 female athletes on the podcast, or Olympian athletes, and it's the same goal. It's just, no matter what, I'm gonna do my best. If I get to the finals, great. If I get a medal, even better. But they have, there is a focus, and mentality, it's a mindset that they have from the get-go. Okay, this is it. This you know, if you come this short, you know, to make the Olympics, keep going. You never know,
Yes.
you know, keep going. That's what happened with Allison, and that's what happened with the pole vaulter. Oh my God, Morgan. You know, she says, you know what, I'm gonna keep going, and she got to the finals in the Olympics, and unfortunately, she got an injury and tibia or something like that. She got injured right there, and she couldn't perform in the finals. But you know, these athletes are just amazing. You know, and when it comes to that, coach, you know, I know I don't want to take too much time away from you, but you know, you take care more what, you know, they take off, the execution, the entry. I mean, I know everything is flawless with, you know, with diving, but what is your main focus when it comes to the athletes? Which one of these three you focus the most?
Well, again, I don't think there's one area that I focus more on than the other. I think with diving, you got to understand the laws of physics. You got to understand the laws of physics. You got to apply the laws of physics, because it's pretty. They call them the laws of physics. They don't call them the suggestions. I mean, so I try to teach my divers. When my divers are done diving for me, they can go coach, because I'm teaching them. I'm not just. It's not my opinion. It's Isaac Newton's opinion, and they call it a fact now, but. So I coach by the laws of physics, but there's times when we're working on mental training. There's times when we're working on board work. There's times when we're in the weight room, and all those factors come together to fill the glass is what it is. I mean, just having really good at, let's say, the mental training. Well, that's one thing, but we got to do the physiological stuff too. We got to do the entry work. We got to do the weight training. All of it. You have to do all of it. You can't skip one thing. You just can't. You got to do it all. It's raising the glass in all those areas, instead of just going, well, I'm really good at this one thing. Well, great, but that's not going to get you to be a champion in this or that. And we got to get good at all of them. And so my philosophy is, I have the divers write their handprint down like this and trace around their fingers. And then we write down their 5 weakest things, the 5 weakest things. I don't need to know your 5 best things. I know what those are, and you probably know what those are. Let's work on the 5 weakest things. So we're building from the bottom up. We're bringing your weak things up to a different level. And once we've done that, we'll make another handprint and find your 5 weakness things again.
Awesome.
And that's how you build a diver. And sometimes it's mental training. A kid might need a lot more mental training, because they're physically amazing, but they're mentally in the meet and under pressure, they can't do it. Well, to be an Olympian and then to be an Olympic gold medalist, you have to have all those things are covered.
They have to be.
You don't lack in any of them. You're good at all of them. And you've learned that over the years. And it's not just something that you read one book and you got it. It's not how it works. It's experience and failure and mistakes. That's a part of being great at anything. I tell my divers, every elite level athlete, I don't care what sport it is, made more mistakes than you ever will. They made more than you ever will. They just understand that's a part of the learning process. They get it. They don't go, I made a mistake, I'm terrible. No, that's why I say professional golfers are still hitting the best in the world, still hitting 3-foot putts over and over and over. Why? That's something they did when they were little, because they understand that that they're still doing the fundamentals, the basic stuff that they did for years and years, and they never stopped doing it. So I've had divers that say, oh, I haven't done that in 3 years. I'm like, that's a mistake. You should be able to do this stuff always. And in baseball, hitting off a tee. Well, you don't, even professional baseball players are still hitting off a tee.
They're still doing it.
Yeah. Yes, because they're trying to work on their swing or their head position or whatever. They're working on an element, and they understand that. And so I'm teaching college kids that we don't stop doing basics. We don't stop doing fundamentals. We don't stop working the mental stuff. You know, if you're mentally a rock star, we want to make sure we're just tweaking it to make sure it's continuing to grow or get better. We don't start declining in some of those areas that, I haven't done that in 3 years. Well, that was a mistake. It never happened.
Excellent.
So that's my approach.
And how many hours you guys normally train on a weekly basis? 20 hours? That's average?
Yeah, we're 20 hours a week. Yeah. And then they can do more if they want, but it's voluntary. There's no, I can't tell them they can't, but I can't suggest it or recommend it. They can do their 20 hours is all I can mandate based on NCAA rules. But if they want to come in and work on their hurdle, they can do that. I can't suggest it or recommend it, because that would mean me kind of hinting them. It's like, nope, you want to do that? We'll have someone just go do that. But it's on your time when you want. And we try to make those opportunities available. 20 hours is a lot for an athlete, for a diver, for sure. That's a lot physically. And they're in the weight room at 6:30 in the morning, killing the strength coaches, killing their legs, and they're sore and they're tired. And and then they got classes, and then they got their afternoon practice, and they're
Mhm.
wiped out. They got study, and that's not even counting relationships or eating or doing that other stuff that they need to do, right? So
It's a
yeah,
full-time job. Yeah,
it
full-time.
is. It's a lot for
Yeah.
an athlete, and trying to be a good student. It's tough. That's
Mhm.
tough, but they find a way. These kids are amazing. They're,
Mm.
and not just at my university, just the fact that you're a college athlete and you get through you did stuff that most people can't do. You
Mo-
just
mo-
did. It
Most of
makes
this,
you
yeah,
special.
yeah, most of the sports are like that all the time. They're just it's
Or
time consuming. It's time it is a commitment.
time.
Exactly what they say.
Yeah,
Exactly when they say it is a commitment that you're doing. It's a full-time job. It's not just hey,
it is.
I'm an athlete, I gotta have fun. No, you need to
Right.
you need to
No,
put your work on. You
and
need to
with the
put your
rules
work on.
now, with the NC2A rules, it's harder for them to go and have that fun because there's more restrictions and there's more testing, and it's difficult. And back when I was an athlete, then the rules were a lot less, and now and it's for their own good, really, honestly, to make it, let's run a little tighter ship with the NC2A, and I'm glad that they do that because it keeps them more in line longer and focused on their goals, and it helps. And I think it's a good thing that the NC2A has a rule book that's this fat, but a lot of those things needed to be in there. They just
Mm,
did because it's the athlete. We as coaches have to abide by those just like the athletes do. And you know, me making sure I'm doing what's right for this kid, um, and the kid doing what they're supposed to do. And obviously being a college student, it's challenging.
the close coach. I always ask this. I'm an athlete, and I'm looking, like you say, and researching and doing the officials and unofficial pieces and going around. What should I expect from you as coach?
That I understand the sport pretty well. I've been doing it a really long time, and I've learned a lot from a lot of people that were smarter than me. And
Mhm.
I still feel like to this day I'm still learning, and I've been doing it 30 years, and I feel like I still can learn. I can still get better. So for me, it's about that my heart's bigger than my brain. I always say that to my divers, that I care more about you as a person than an athlete. But I will work my butt off every day with you to make you the very, very best you can be. And I want you to leave way better than you ever thought you could be, but I also want you to go, that was so much fun. That's what I want. I don't want you to go, I got really good, but it was sucked. I didn't like it. No, I want you to have fun, but I want to work hard, and I want you to know me as a person. So when I talk to recruits the very first time, I want you to get to know me as a person, not just give you the X's and O's and tell you my resume.
Mhm.
That's You can go look that up if you want to see it. I don't want to talk about that. I'd rather just tell you who I am, what I'm about, and I want your parents, if they want to reach out to me and talk to me, I'd love to talk to them. I want them to know I'm a parent too. I have 2 daughters, and
Beautiful.
I think like that I want your parents to go, yeah, we want our daughter to be with that person because we know he's going to take care of them. That makes me happier than any medal they ever win. And I'm going to try to do that because I'm a competitive person. I want to win, but it's not at the
Definitely.
cost of your mental health. It never will be at the cost of your mental health. It never will be. So that's important. And finding a coach, and not just me, there's a lot of coaches out there that care more about them as people than as athletes, even though the athlete part is important, but their lives should be more important. It just should be, just how it should be. It
Beautiful, beautiful. And with that, thank you so very much, Coach Bach.
was great talking to you.
East
Thanks for
Michigan
having me.
University. Thank you so very much, man. I highly appreciate it.